World famous hidden beaches, top secret camp spots, remote touring, and four-wheel driving up rocks and beach driving. And of course, locked gates. In this episode, we show you the top 7 best locations in the southwest of Australia and where to find some of the bluest swimmable water on Earth.
It's so blue, and I love that when we got to campground, a kangaroo already came right up.
Plus, a bonus 2 spots across the straightest road in Australia, the infamous Nullarbor. Don't forget, guys, if you are enjoying the content, flick us a subscribe. We are creating videos every 2 weeks for you guys to watch. Plus, proudly supported by Adventure Kings for all our outdoor camping and four-wheel drive needs, available at Four Wheel Drive Super Centre. And Maddie and myself, Sam, have put together some discount codes for you from some of the biggest companies around Australia, including iTech World, Undercover Australia, using the discount code Always Touring, and even our own quality merch for you guys to wear when you are out touring. Rightio, so this is where the amazing blue water that you see all over social media and all over the news and everything of the amazing crystal clear blue water and white beaches start, right down here at Bremer Bay. The 2 main beaches here that you can swim at, and given it's winter there is nobody here so we had it all to ourselves, is you have Back Beach that you can see in this shot there, and then the main Bremer Bay beach. So nice! Now, as we're heading towards Esperance, you definitely don't want to skip this national park. It's known as the Fitzgerald River National Park. This place is seriously underrated. It's one of the most botanically diverse parks in the world, with rugged coast cliffs, pristine beaches, and epic four-wheel drive tracks. And we even found a secret little lookout along the road that has a pretty cool, unique view over the park itself. One of the really cool things about this park is it's actually not really spoken about, so there's naturally not many people that come through here, and some of the wildlife and the views that you have are just absolutely phenomenal, particularly when you're going from the amazing crystal blue waters and the white sands, and then you have this right on the back doorstep.
So finally got a bit of a break in the weather. We made our way quickly through Albany and then through Bremer Bay, and it was been absolutely pouring down all morning, but the water there is just absolutely beautiful. I'm so glad we're getting to this side of the country where the water gets extremely blue, the sand gets extremely white. Quickly made our way into Fitzgerald National Park. Because of all the rain, it's, as you can see behind me, it is closed, which is very unfortunate. So we're going to make a plan B. We're going to head around the highway and see if we can get into another area. But I tell you what, the landscape out here with the bushes and the massive mountain that's behind us, I'll quickly tag in the name because I've forgotten it as I'm speaking right now, really reminds me of the Grampians over in Victoria. If you watch one of our episodes, this is almost identical, the way that the dirt, the trees, the bushes are right in front of the massive singular mountain that's within their area. So I think that's pretty cool.
Walking over to the tea tree, and my foot is just walking with mud. It is like all mud.
Was the tea tree worth it for that?
It was, just for the dry stuff.
And for those wondering what we've been doing for like tracking the weather and stuff like that, obviously Maddie and I have been touring for about 3 or 4 years, and we finally came across this app that we've been following religiously because it gives you 2 of the biggest things. It tells you exactly which wind direction that everything is going in, as well as it animates it. So if you don't understand, like if something's coming from southwesterly, northwesterly, offshore, onshore, you can literally watch this picture, as well as it predicts how many mils each hour ahead it is and how many kilometer winds each hour ahead for about a week, and it's probably the most accurate. So it's this app here called Windy, and if you tap on it just for now, you can see straight away, you can see all obviously different colors and stuff like that, but you can see which way the wind direction is. As we're getting close to Esperance at the moment, if I just click there, forecast for this location, and you can see down here we had 4.7 mils, 1.8, then we got 0.3 coming up, how many kilometre-hour winds there are, and then just at the bottom where the gusts are, it tells you how big the gusts are. And as you can see, it's going to like 67 kilometre-hour winds. Where we are at the moment is we are doing the Great Southern Drive as we are making our way to the campsite tonight, which is called, I've already forgotten, Mads, what is it?
Starvation Bay.
Starvation Bay, and the drive is like pretty close to what it's like along the Great Ocean Road. You're driving along the ocean, looking at all the turquoise water, and then we've just come up to a spot. If you can see out there, you've actually got a lake, and then what, 50 metres over amongst all the trees, you've got the ocean and stuff like that, which looks pretty cool as well.
From here, we make our way to one of our favourite 2 campsites along this trip, known as Starvation Bay, and this is definitely one you want to add to your list whilst you're travelling down in the southwest parts of Australia.
Pretty epic camp here at Starvation Bay. We're literally 10 metres away, camped up right in front of the turquoise blue water, white sand. I'm definitely going for a swim in the morning. Plan for tonight, we're just going to have a bit of a fire, have a bit of a relaxing afternoon, because now I think we're almost guaranteed to have no rain from here on in and just enjoy the sunshine. Even though I was only out for about 20 minutes today, we're starting to get on the good end of the weather.
After a well-deserved fire and a couple of cheeky marshmallows the night before, we wake up the next morning and we make our way to a pink lake that seems to have not been so pink when we got there. From there, we checked out a couple little lookouts, one at 11 Mile Beach, which is definitely worth a stop for a swim. You can swim right through the channels there, crystal clear blue water, before making our way to one of the most infamous beaches as you're heading towards Esperance, Twilight Beach.
How bloody epic is this, mate? Check out this, Twilight Beach. That is something I have not seen before on the eastern side of Australia.
Southbound on a riverboat to Baton Rouge. Hillbound like a rambler with
Seriously, these waters here, check this out. We're currently at Twilight Beach, which is right next to Dolphin Point. This is the first one as you enter Esperance, where you get to see this amazing blue water. I'm making cliff formations behind me and the rocks. It does not get any better than this. We sort of came around the corner from Salmon Beach and we found these really cool caves. I thought we'll be able to get to that one right up there, but we came down to the one down the bottom. It's not a bad little spot if you want to come around the corner, check it out, but it's bloody wild and woolly down there. It's pretty phenomenal, hey. We going to the cave, Mads?
I'll go into the cave.
After making our way away from the caves, we decided to make our way to a very secluded and more private beach compared to all the other beaches in the area, known as Blue Haven Beach. And then from there, once we started checking that one out, it was really, really cool, by the way. We wanted to head over just a little bit outside of Esperance to go check out that there's this four-wheel drive rock that can drive onto the beach and actually drive up the face of the rock itself.
get up on your feet, this is a shakedown. Order up that beat just like it's takeout. Show me you got soul inside those new shoes.
Alright, so we have just pulled up and made our way into Esperance, and we've made our way just a little bit out of town first off to come have a look at this rock climb and this beautiful beach and park up for lunch. Maddie's just making some chicken wraps at the moment. I'm thinking about possibly having a crack up this rock here, just lower your tyre pressure down to 16, throw it in low. I'll make that decision in a minute when I have a quick walk up and have a look. The only thing that's sort of stopping me at the moment is, as you guys know, I've been having some problems with my front end. My two shocks are bugged, which has caused basically my power steering to have a bit of a fault, and the bearing has collapsed on itself. So I don't know how far I'm going to push it. I'll do a walk up there and see how steep it is. I would just hate to snap that halfway up there, particularly when we're at the end of our trip. We're still
k's away from home. We can't really afford to have a good couple of weeks off just to wait around for parts and stuff like that. But I tell you what, it is absolutely sensational here. Check that out. You can definitely see where people have been. There's tyre marks that go sort of down there. Look at that view though, that's phenomenal. And you make your way up, tyre marks all the way down there. Looks great, but man, actually a little bit scary.
Are you gonna do it?
I've decided to not do it. I know, you might think that I'm pussying out, but this is the last sort of area that we're doing on this entire 3-month trip before we head across the Nullarbor to go home. It looks a lot steeper than it looks on camera, as everyone says, and I think usually you'd be okay dropping your tyre pressures and going up, but that one-off chance, I don't want to bugger something up because we need to be back home in 2.5 weeks, and as everyone knows, you drop up on a mechanic's door on a Friday afternoon with a broken power steering rack or CV or something like that, not only is it going to ruin our trip, but you know, it's going to take 2 or 3 weeks for them to just get all that sorted. So I think the smart option for today is to say no, enjoy the area because it's absolutely brilliant, and we'll keep punching on and make our way over to Lucky Bay. Nah, I'm not going up that, looking at them doing it now.
Alright, I'll look back the other way again. That was an opportunity though, if you wanted to do it.
Yes, Madison, I know. I hate bloody walking away from a challenge like that. It's so bloody disappointing.
Well, as much as I hate walking away from a challenge, something like that I was really looking forward to, I think a lot of things that aren't talked about a lot on YouTube is when you are touring for a long time around Australia, particularly when you're going for more than 3 months, you want to be able to look after your vehicle and you're going to have to be able to make the decisions whether certain full drive tracks are worth it, particularly for the risk to the reward ratio. Mate.
This is hella fire.
That is gorgeous, look at that.
The amount of stories where I've heard people have done something dumb and we have been in that situation and it adds a month of stagnancy because you have to wait around in the town that you're broken down in and you miss out on things further on your trip. It's really just not worth it because you get to amazing places like this and the Cape Legrand National Park, which is hands down the best place in Southwest Australia to put your foot down and explore and stay for a while.
New MC, you got the remix. Keep it on repeat, just let the beat kick. Everywhere you go, you bring the roof down. Everybody knows you got your own sound. So good, so fresh, just the way you like it. Just the way you like it.
Alright guys, I'd love to know in the comments right now what your thoughts are on this campground, Lucky Bay Campground, just on the waters with this significantly amazing blue water, white beaches. Is this not one of the best beaches you've ever seen in Australia? We couldn't help ourselves but go for a drive as soon as we got there.
Well, we've just arrived to Lucky Bay. I got so bloody excited. We've gone in, we've bagged a spot. We just got a nice little sheltered spot because there's a bit of wind coming down and I just wanted to get straight down onto the beach. Mate, you've got to check this out. This is wicked. I've never, ever seen so much white sand and turquoise blue water. I just want to jump right in, eh? What are your thoughts, man? Get the cheeses down here.
It's so blue, and I love that when we got to campground, a kangaroo already came right up, so the kangaroos that the Lucky Bay name do match.
Look at that! Crystal clear! Holy shit! Mate, to end the Western Australia series trip here at Lucky Bay. Absolute beauty. Oh my god, that was phenomenal. Hey, I cannot believe it. You gotta come out. You gotta come out in the water. I have never, hands down, seen water so clear in Australia.
Show me you got soul.
Like a little kid.
That was a good one, wasn't it?
Just the way you like it.
Okay.
Well, after a cracker of a day, I'm sure a couple of you were wondering why Maddie didn't get in the water. We just had a couple personal things going on in the background that we wish not to share with you guys on YouTube. So, got back, had a good feed at the Lucky Bay campground, and then we're out for another adventure to explore the rest of the national park tomorrow.
Gotta wait though. Gotta wait for the gust of wind. Are you just still recording me?
Oh wait, so I can get the whistle. Just another cracking spot here at the Cape Legrand National Park. This one's Thistle Cove, just around the corner from Lucky Bay and in between Hellfire. Okay, alright, I think I've sort of stitched myself up. I have been excited for Cape Legrand Beach, which is where we've just arrived, for the entire trip. I was like, it has the bluest water, the whitest sand, obviously like the same as Lucky Bay, but much bigger. Get here, and I think I'm gonna say everyone tagging in Cape Legrand and Lucky Bay. And obviously it's winter and you can't camp here at the moment. It reopens in September, so you can drive and camp on the beach. But we got here.
Some of you kept asking me, when are we going to Legrand? When are we going to Legrand?
Look at this, check this out. Mate, there is more seaweed here to create enough sushi for the entire world for 10 bloody years, and the water is not that great. It's just full of weed.
I don't think you'd eat this seaweed on that. Oh, Samuel.
Quite literally goes for kilometers of seaweed.
Here in Scotland, where the weather's just great as Australia.
Alright, well that concludes this episode, and unfortunately the Western Australia series that we've been doing for the past 4 or 5 months or so, we've sort of just made our way for the finale here at just outside of Esperance to the Stonehenge.
Which is not in Scotland.
No, well it is. We've actually quickly done a quick flight from Perth to Scotland and back.
Yep.
It's it's literally just a 10-minute drive outside of town, but I don't know, what was your, out of the whole, I'm a little bit disappointed this is coming to an end.
I know, it's sad when the trip's coming to an end. I think my highlights were definitely the Ningaloo. Like, I cannot get over how blue the water was, but also all the coral and the fish and the shells.
Yep.
I actually really liked as well Steep Point in that area with all of Shark Bay. That's the name. I loved Shark Bay as well. Down here at the southwest is nice, but I think we came at the wrong time.
Yes, definitely. It's been interesting here in winter, that's for sure. But it's one of those things, you got to get it done. You can't always get everything perfectly timed and stuff like that. But for me, Ningaloo Reef was definitely my favourite. And the Gibb River Road was definitely an unexpected adventure. I think didn't put too much effort into the planning on that one. And the amount of things that you can do, definitely do that one over, I reckon, a good 1 to 2 weeks and enjoy your trip and stuff like that. But we'll see. We're going to make our way across the Nullarbor, back home, and keep the adventures going. We will be continuing this YouTube channel for many years to come. So stay tuned. Throw us a subscription and we'll see you later.
Alright guys, as promised, I'm going to share with you our 2 favourite camp spots along the Nullarbor. The first one being along the Bunda Cliffs. Now the Bunda Cliffs go for like 100 kilometres, there's plenty of campsites, but they're closing so many. So I'm actually going to give you the coordinates of one that they've recently closed that the track's still open to get out onto. So the long and lat is minus 31.588118 on 130.456877. And if you actually go on Wikicamps, it's a day use area that says no access, but you can still get out here. And I'm all about not shutting these things down, so that's why I wanted to share it with you guys, because there's plenty of these areas that are open on the cliffs that you can pay for, but they keep shutting down all the free camp spots. And then this final one is out near the Nullarbor Roadhouse itself. It's about 10 kilometers back from it, out past the caves clearing.